I was talking with um, Jacob Kenmore earlier on this subject of AM sales, and um, I guess my first thing that I would say is what I feel like we've done a good job of in our pilot and in our division is creating the culture of wanting to sell. I remember being a DM years ago and, almost having to pull teeth to get my AMs to sell and having the culture of, I just want to be an office manager. I just want to run an interview. I need to get better at this and I need to get better at that. And what I know is that when I was an assistant manager and a sales manager, my results were always significantly better when I was selling at a high level. My show to training was better. My show to interview was better. I got more PRs in the door. Personally, when I was selling at a high level and I was making healthy paychecks. And I think that rings true for every assistant manager. So if they want to get better results, they need to sell. And what we try and do is we try and create an atmosphere where they want to sell. And I feel like we've done a really good job with this in our pilot office. There's many a times where I have to fight my AMs to make PR calls because they're making demo calls, or I have to fight them to follow their office schedule because they're trying to go do demos. And I like that. I enjoy that. I want them selling. I love that. Even my Dom, by the way, sells. Right now, my Dom Larry Ryborg is, I think, number 4 in his Silver Cup category for the year in personal sales. Ryan Lear, when he was my Dom, in 2016, sold $77,000 in CUTCO for the year. And, so for you DMs, your sales manager needs to be leading the way. And when your sales manager is selling, the rest of your AMs do not have a choice but to follow the leader and sell. So I really feel like that set the tone across our organization that, hey, our Dom is selling, our sales managers are selling, and our assistant managers need to be selling as well. And one of the things I always talk to my AMs about is like, you make 1% off of our office, you make 30% or 40% or even 50% off of your personal sales. Like, are you sure you don't want to go do a couple demos this week? Where's your income opportunity really? Is it in office work or personal sales? And it's not that I don't want them to do office work, and it's not that I don't want them to get good at that, but where our base camp comes from each week is our assistant sales. And what I really love about this is that since our assistant managers are selling, it means they have to make phone calls. Well, when they're making phone calls, they can run another phone jam and they can have people phone with them. When they're doing demos, they can take people field training with them. And, when they're taking people field training, that's like an extra PC. In my opinion, it's even better than a PC. When they're selling and they're getting big paychecks at the team meeting, then other representatives see that as, I need to be an assistant manager so I can make paychecks like that, and it gets the cream to rise to the top, so to speak, where everyone wants to be an AM because they assume that, hey, the assistant managers, they make the most money, and they do because they get the most time with you. You should be spending the most time with your assistant managers. Are you still treating them like reps, by the way? I PC my assistant managers every single week. I do a rec check. And by the way, I think there was some confusion with a few of you that I was talking with on what a rec check is. That's not where I make them do their recommendations approach. Of course, I do drill for skill on that and make sure they know that. But that's where I take their recommendations notebook and I comb through it, each one, and count up exactly how many names they have. I want to know exactly how many names they have to call. I was also asking Jacob, I said, how many times have you sat down with your assistant manager in your office and just dialed the phone for them? I'm not saying you need to do that all the time. I know that sounds very tedious, but there are times where to get the ball rolling, to set the tone, to set the mentality of how to be aggressive on the phone, where I'll pull my AMs into my office while I'm typing up an email or doing some divisional work. I'll have them pull their names and numbers out in their schedule, and I'll have them give me the phone, and I'll dial the numbers and set it on speakerphone. And, it's so funny. Within 30 minutes, they've made 30, 40 phone calls, booked, 5 or 6 demos. And it's like, man, I wish they answered like that when I was calling. I was like, well, if you wouldn't be in there goofing off and, wasting time, that probably would happen. But, what happens is they learn the phone call mentality at that point. So then they go, man, in 30 minutes, I can get 5 or 6 demos booked if I just pound it out versus if I just sit in there goof off in the office for an hour and, maybe get one, I'm going to be here longer. So, our assistant managers, they crush the phone, and they set the mentality for our phone jams at our team meetings. They set the phone jam mentality at our all-day call days during the summer. And so when the rest of the team comes in, they see our assistant managers crushing the phone, so they follow suit. I also enjoy the fact that our assistant managers understand why they should sell, why they want to sell, and when other representatives maybe aren't making phone calls or aren't motivated to go sell, it's not just myself telling representatives that they should want to sell to our AMs as well. So they're hearing it from a different voice. If you have assistant managers that are very solid at the demo, I would have them go reverse field training with some of your lower end assistant managers and some of your new reps. And that's an easy way to see, is it their demo that needs work? And what exactly in the demo needs work, or is it that they're not completing enough demos in general, or is it they don't have enough phone calls? So the challenge that I gave Jacob was I would sit down with your assistant managers and I would figure out, is it they're not completing enough demos? Do they not have enough names to call? Are they not making the phone calls? Or is it their demo in general where they're not closing sales? And, it can be one of those things, but many a times it's that they're not completing enough demos. They're not sitting down and making the phone calls. And I talked to a few managers on this topic the last couple of weeks, and they've had programs where they get their assistant managers do one demo a day or, 2 demos a day. And, that's great. I'm not saying change anything. If you guys have something that works in GCK, by all means follow it, but when I was an assistant manager and I was in school, it was hard for me to do one demo. Sometimes that demo would fall through. Sometimes that demo would cancel. And as a college student, it's like you feel like you're working, so you chalk that day up as working where you really didn't work, and it's kind of negative. So I would always go through their schedule and find a day or two where they could schedule 4 or 5 demos, and they would go out and have a grand day or a $500 day. And they were so much more positive, because they felt like they accomplished more. They only had to work a day or two, as far as those demos go, versus trying to do one here, one there. They were able to build some momentum. So Jake was asking me what Ryan Lear's schedule was, and the year that he sold 77 grand, there were some pushes that he participated in, but for the most part, he was doing 3 demos Thursday, 3 demos Friday, every day of the week. And it was so powerful when he would come into training with 2 or 3 orders for $1,000. And he's like, all right, guys, you guys ready for day 1 training? I just got done doing some demos, sold $1,000. I make 50%, by the way, so I just made $500 today. So I'm really excited to get your training going. And I just remember watching that, go, holy crap, this is so awesome. And he'd come back for day 2, with another $1,000 in sales. He's like, man, just made another $500. I already made $1,000 this week in 6 appointments. And our training class was like, give me my kid, I'm ready to get the hell out of here. And it really sets the tone for your team, that they're following the leader, and it really shows the rest of your team what's really possible. We had I think 5 assistant managers sell over $30,000 this summer, and the bulk of them were at 50%. So that made $15,000 this summer, and those are people that come back summer after summer. Those are people that get PRs for you. When their friend finds out they made 15 grand, like they want to come check that out. We've already got our staff set up for the spring, summer, and next fall because in large part of our assistant sales this summer, they want to come back and make that type of money. The MITs up under them are like chawing at the bit. They're like, can you please make them go branch so I can be an assistant manager this summer, or this spring. And, so they're fighting and clawing to get on staff because they want to get time with myself and they want to get time with their DMs across our division. That way they're becoming a better rep. So to break it down for you, I think the first thing that I would do as a DM is I would create the culture of why do you want to sell as an assistant manager? Why is it exciting? the income opportunity. Obviously, that's a big sell factor. So I'd make sure they understand that there is no other opportunity out there legally where you can make the type of money that you can make as a sales representative. So just because you're an assistant manager, you should still capitalize on the sales rep position. So I think that's number one. I think making sure they understand that and value that and don't take that for granted. I mean, I think I look at your guys as leader, Kathy. I mean, the last 2 years has personally sold $10,000 plus to hit President's Bank. But I mean, that should speak volumes to you guys. And if it were me and I were you, I would be beating that drum to my assistants all day, every day. So the second thing is I make sure I create a culture where they don't feel like they're too cool for school. Where selling is beneath them. So I'd always use Kathy as an example. I'd say our DVM sales personally. So don't think that you're too cool for school and that you shouldn't sell personally. We are a sales company. The third thing that I always tell my AMs is that we've got the best product in the world, and you don't want to even go and introduce it to 5 or 6 new customers this week. And like I let that marinate, I let that sink in. I'm like, how much do you really believe in CUTCO? And a lot of times, guys, you got to realize just because someone sold 20 or 30 grand, that doesn't mean they're a great rep. That just means that they showed a lot of CUTCO to their network. And now they need to know how to sell CUTCO to people that isn't in their network. Selling 20 or 30 grand is almost like getting a high school diploma or an associate's degree, right? It's good, right? It's impressive, but it's not like, wow. Where do our people really get good experience? Where do they really get good skill set? It's when they master the phone and master closing and master dropping down and mastering recommendations. And I don't believe that happens until they're at 50, 75, 100 plus $1,000 in sales. And, if we can get someone to 20 or 30K, then we should just as easily be able to get them to 50, 75, and 100K as well. They obviously have the means to do that. They can always go back to their network and get more referrals if they need to. But one thing that Matt King taught me years ago was how to vision paint with your people. And, if they've sold 20 or 30 grand, show them how much they've made, and then show them how much they would make if they were at 50%. So if your assistants have sold 20 grand and they've made $5,000, show them how much they would make if they were at 50%. You'd make $10,000 doing the same job. Like how awesome is that? So are you selling the sales representative opportunity to your assistant managers? Like, do they feel like that's their obligation and they have to do it, or do they want to do it? Right? That would be my objective. How do I get my assistant managers to want to personal sell versus feel like they have to personal sell? And I can assure you that their results in every aspect of the business is going to go up significantly because of their belief in the sales rep position. When you have representatives that are super confident in the job, they're going to be super confident in getting their personal PRs in. They're going to be super confident in getting PRs in general. When they're running an interview, they're going to be super confident because they're crushing the job. And no matter what someone says to them, they're not going to sell them on it not being a good job when they just made 10 grand, the previous campaign. So I'll wrap up with this. What are you doing on a week-to-week basis to assist your assistant managers, right? So if this is something that we want to see come to fruition, how much attention are we paying to it? Are we doing good, solid PCs with them as a rep, checking their names list, making sure phone time's in their schedule, holding them accountable to that phone time? Are we providing, a platform where they can grow and get better as representatives, whether that be watching Vector Connect videos or going on a reverse field training with the top rep in the office or in the division? You guys have some of the best representatives in the company in GCK. Could they go on a reverse field training with some of your assistant managers? And then the third thing is making sure that on a week-to-week basis, after I PC them, I check in with them on Thursday or Friday and see how their goals are coming along. So, a lot of times we'll PC our assistant managers and they're assistant managers, they'll get it. And we don't manage them like we would a 10K fast starter or someone during the push. So these are your most important people. And you want to make sure that they're taken care of. So are you checking in with them Thursday or Friday and going, hey, Kathy, I'm checking the rollover report. I know your goal this week was to sell $1,500. I see that $300 on there. How are we going to get the other $1,200 sold? What's that look like? do we need to do? Hey, you got all the to turn this. No big deal, right? You got this. So are you having those conversations with your AMs? Are you PCing them? Good, solid PCs, making sure they have names, making sure their phone times in their schedule, hold them accountable to that phone time. Are you PDIing them and driving their sales action like you would if they were a 10K fast starter or a push rep? And are you providing a platform where they're learning and growing and their skill set's getting better? Those would be the three things that I would be focusing on to make sure you're getting the sales. And then the three things I would be doing after this call to create that culture is making sure you're selling them on the sales rep opportunity and why it's so awesome, and creating that culture, and then challenging them, on their product belief. I love CUTCO, and if I wasn't a division manager and, my only option was to sell, I'd show everybody CUTCO. I think everybody that breathes should have CUTCO, and I would challenge your representatives to think that way as well. So anyways, Kathy, I got a few minutes if you guys have any Q&A, or if you want to take it over from there, then that's fine as well.
Awesome. Yeah, no, real quick, we can open it up. I'll unmute you guys all. So any questions for Brian or just takeaways, things that you really liked from this? You guys are all live.
No, hey, Brian. This is Austin Worthington. So we all have, expectations for our reps on a weekly basis, but like for your staff week to week, what are the minimum expectations that you have for them, sales and in the office?
Sure, that's a great question, Austin. For me, I like to keep it really simple. I want it to be as simple as possible. So whether I'm in town or out of town, it's getting done. So the main benchmarks are that they're getting their sales in. So in the non-summer, it's at least $500 a week. In the summer, it's at least $1,000. And again, that's like a bare bones minimum benchmark. Yeah. As an assistant manager, $500 in sales, that's like, hey, if you were super swamped, had class, we're busy doing this, you could still at least get $500. But, the expectation is that we're hitting the newsletter every week. Same thing in the summer, and $1,000 is only 3 average orders. Like you're an assistant manager, 3 average orders is nothing. So making sure they're getting their sales in, and it normally takes 6 or 7 demos for all of our AMs in our office to hit those numbers, 1,000 a week, and 5 or 6 to get their 500. So it's like, hey, when can you get your 6 or 7 demos in? And who can you get on the newsletter this week? Okay, what's that look like? Do we need to have a PC with them? What do we need to cover? How many phone times do they need? How many demos do they need to hit the newsletter? Okay. How do you see that playing out? When are the PCs going to happen? I'm muted.
Oh, sorry. You got muted. Sorry.
So when can you get your 5? When can you schedule your 5? So on their staff days, when do they schedule their 5? And then when can you get your 50 Facebook messages? So it's really those 4 things. How can you get your 6 or 7 a week to make sure you hit the newsletter? Who can you get on the newsletter this week? And what's that going to take? As far as the PC, phone calls, how many demos, how do we make sure that comes to fruition? How do we execute that plan? So I have the AM walk me through how they're going to get this person on the newsletter, and I get feedback as needed to make sure they understand what it's going to take. And then the days that they come in, their staff days, how are they going to book their 5? What's that look like? Like, whose PRs are they calling? Is it going to be through rep driven or steroid, or is it campus? And then what days can they send out their 50 Facebook messages? And if they're doing those 4 things, and you have 7 people doing those 4 things a week, it's going to add up to a lot really quick.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Anybody else? You got 10 seconds. Speak your voice.
Brian, this is Dan. I was wondering about PDI and your AMs. When do you start trusting them to kind of run their own team and that kind of stuff? And how do you kind of transition just a regular AM that helps you around the office to kind of that level of responsibility?
Sure. So the first thing I'll tell you, Dan, is that, when you're doing PDIs, your staff watching, and are your potential staff members watching. This is, I've seen Kathy do PDI, so you guys have the best person when it comes to being great at PDI and teaching people how to be great at PDI, so that's something that she could probably cover better than I can. But what I would do if I were you, Dan, is I would make sure your AMs are watching you take PDI and do PDI every day. And then what I'll do is, while I'm doing PDI, one of my lower end reps, I'll say, "All right, Dan, hey, now you call this person." And then they'll call that person, and then I'll take some notes. I'll give them some feedback. Hey, here's what you did really well. Here's some positive criticism. Right now, watch me do another call. And then I'll do a couple more PDI calls. And I'll go, "Now, Dan, what'd you learn? Okay, now here's one more person. Call that person." And then same thing. And I'll do that for, a couple of days. And, eventually, after watching them, they know how to do it. And, they get to a point where they can effectively do it on their own. But I think that, it really is going to come from watching you do it. We have a rule in our office: nothing ever happens alone. Even this call right now, I'm making my Dom watch so he can, do calls like this one day, right? But never do anything alone, and the more you have people watching you, the more you're going to duplicate yourself. And, a lot of times your people are smarter than you think, and they're better at it than you think. And, as DMs, especially new DMs, it's really hard for us to grasp that, this AM can actually do this PDI. They're not as good as I am. And we forget we were that AM at one point in time, and we were doing PDI and interviews and PCs, so.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anybody else? Cool. Well, Brian, I really appreciate, again, you taking time to go through this with us. Have an absolute kick butt day. Larry, have a kick butt day. You guys crush it over there, and I will see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Thanks, Kathy. Have a good one. Have a good one, guys. See ya.
See you, Brian. All righty. So a couple things for you guys. We'll wrap up. I know I wanted to try to stick to these calls to 30, 40 minutes, but things that are important right now. Number one, you guys need to today, this is important to today, every single one of your assistant managers, do they have a push plan? Cool. So 2 weeks mapped out, break down their numbers, and I need them to send me a copy of it. Okay. So I said it on the AM call, but not everybody had their AMs on it. So if you guys can make that adjustment. Also, if you guys can jot down, starting next week, we're going to do the AM calls. I'm going to try 3:30 and see how that works. Just because we've had a lot of conflicts with school, like class. So if you guys can tell assistant managers instead of 2:30, we're going to go to 3:30. Starting next week, and we're going to play with that. And then we're supposed to have our staff meeting next week during the day. I didn't realize the time differences, and that would be like 3 a.m. my time. So I need to switch the time of our meeting to next week on Thursday. If you guys can block off from 4 to 5:30. So please make your interview next Tuesday like at 2:30, and then have one at like 6:15. But if you guys can block off from 4 to 5:30, please, next Tuesday for a DM staff meeting. Well, we all need to get some time together and go through some different topics to prepare as we prepare and leave for SLC to make sure our offices are on lockdown when we go. All right. So make sure that we have that. Those changes for next Tuesday. But right now, what's most important, all of our AMs have a push plan. We're promoting more people, so who else are you promoting? So we can make sure everyone is set up properly for success. And your offices, just having people, like, their job as an AM is to lead by example, take people field training, and as Brian said, they learn to get great by being near you. We have so many audios, videos, things that you guys can also lead them to help them get good at the job. You know, I have a first weekend PDI. So Dan, I would have your AMs watch that, you know, so they can learn how to drive people in their first weekend. And so there's different, you know, PDI videos and things to support people. First 10-day management, the one that I just posted in the GCALA leadership group, is a great one for you guys to re-listen to. My best managers have heard that, you know, multiple times. And there's a lot of good stuff you guys can take from it to implement immediately that's going to help you drive productivity. So I would listen to first 10-day management if I'm you. It's something that I've had all my lead people re-listen to every year, and some of them re-listen to it every week as they're getting ready and implementing. Another thing I posted last night, and I don't know if you can click on it and it works, or you log into Vector Connect, but there's the driving push periods. I spoke on this at SLC last year, and I think there's a lot of value into, you know, you listening to it. Are you going to be able to implement all the pre-push stuff now? Not necessarily, but it's still going to impact people you do have, and it's going to help impact those that you launch out of training, you know, and launching them out into an environment where, hey, the whole nation is competing, the whole CUTCO, like international, all of North America, Canada, US is all competing right now, and really building that up and just having fun, being like, you know, stepping up, making a name during the only international competition of the entire year. So anyway, there's great stuff about push on there. And I would strongly recommend listening to that so that you guys can take some nuggets from it. So I'd love to get your guys' feedback on that. So again, the push talk from SLC, you guys can grab it on Vector Connect, and I put the post up. And then first 10-day management is something that I think would be good for you guys to listen to and work with your staff on so they know how to drive people all the way through. And that's something that we're focusing on in the pilot. So keep updates coming. Some of you guys have done an amazing job. And thank you. And Jacob, you're really great, you know, posting each day, you know, getting your stuff done. But I'd love to see everybody's final update for the day. You know, are you getting your updates? And I gave you guys at the meeting last week, and I talked to the assistant managers about this. I'll give you guys an example of ours, but having someone clock out, like I want you guys clocking out in our group me. So can you put at the end of the night your final numbers? And so these are how many active touches, how many signs today, how many set for training, you know, like all the numbers each day. So I will post ours, an example from one of the ones this week, but this is from earlier in the week. So I'll post this right now in our DM group so you guys can see it. But at the end of the night, if you guys can post, you know, what happened. So we had active 10 PR set in the office. They didn't put the campus, you know, signed 4 today. Now we're at 28 set for training, 22 set for interviews tomorrow, 5+ demos set for tomorrow, how much CPO in the day and for the week. You know, so just each day posting that. I'd like to do that during the push right now, just so I know what's going on. So each night, if you guys can put your final numbers on here, you know, Matt, if you can do it for College Station, and if you're not doing it, you know, make sure it's assigned to somebody. In our office, there's a different staff member that's in charge of it each night of the 7 nights of the week. But ultimately, you know, Matt Bell Roberts needs to know what's happening. You know, so maybe Laura, for you, like you need to know the final update. Maybe you're not giving it. Maybe you are the one that's giving it each day, like a Dom. But we need to figure that out. So Dan, I need that from you. Kyle, I need that from you. Austin, I need that from you. Bobby, I'll, you know, let him know I need that from him. Jordan, if you want to have somebody else, you know, in charge of that, or switch it per day, where David's one day, Nemo's one day, Cass is one day, you know, whatever it is. But if you guys can get that unlocked, cool. So nightly updates and get push schedules with your guys' team. I do want to say congrats before we go. I just highlight some sales for the week in terms of beating your week. Jacob Kinnamore and the team down there absolutely crushing their last year's numbers. So really phenomenal job. Last year, this past week, did 55 at 87 in new business. And this year, pretty much, you know, was right at double that, just shy of $10,000. So really great job. Total sales last year was $68,13. And this year, total sales $27,000. 27, 631. So he'll be one of the top offices in the region once again. So fantastic job. Jordan Giratano and the team over there. These guys also crushing last year's numbers. Last year, new business this past week was $3,000 and total was $7,900. This year, doubled new business over $6,000 and total $18,849. So awesome job. The pilot and Cody, both of us reducing in total sales from last year, both increasing a bit from new business from last year. So working, moving forward. So excited about that. Mr. Eric Ward, also total sales almost tripling, so 2.5 last year, also increasing his new business sales. So that was great. Dan absolutely crushing last week, getting PRs in from his guys and really focused on PRs and driving a $5,000 new business week. So fantastic. Number 5, and really almost tied with our pillar offices and new business this past week. So really fantastic job. We also had Wasim grow from last year as well. So just excited to see that from last year to this year, growth through the division. I know that we had a couple offices that were a little bit, were even or down, but overall growth, and that's what we're excited about, and for us as we're building, like I was talking to Jordan about this last week, like I want our division, I want the people we work with to really be focused on growth. Are you constantly getting better? How can you beat or match last week or last year's week, or, and just feel good about growing yourself. You can always feel good about improvement. And so it might not be the big numbers or the crazy numbers that you want to do, but are you constantly growing yourself, growing those around you, growing your organization, even if it's a little bit, growth is growth. I don't care if it's $1 or it's $20,000. Obviously we love $20,000 in growth, but just growing every week and taking pride in improving where the organization's going. So great job to you guys this week. Obviously we're going for growth as we go for the push period. I'd like to, this past week as a division, just so you guys know, we did 91,298 as a division. And the goal this week is how do we take it up during the push period to, $150,000 reports this week and next week. And how that's going to happen is through AM sales leadership, our FSMs and CSPs stepping up during the push period. So setting up some contests or things with them. And then making sure that we're driving recruiting and that we have some good stuff happening there. So I know that we had Jordan was on campus now with Matt Bell Roberts and our guys. Matt went over to watch Damien in action and see him with his like online, program and stuff he was talking about at CFC. And we're excited to take some of that stuff and implement it into our office. So we're playing with some stuff and testing some stuff this week that we'll share with you guys and let you guys know how things go. But we're really excited about seeing how we can incorporate some of that into our business, the stuff that Damien talked about at CFC. So appreciate you guys. I don't know if anyone has any questions, anything that you guys need, but just make sure you get a PC with your AMs in the next 24 hours, guys, whether it's today or tomorrow. Make sure you plan their push period. I've said that multiple times, but I can't stress to you guys. I know Matt's sick of hearing me talk about that in the pilot, but driving our AMs, promoting more AMs, making sure you're getting 7 on staff, and really working with them every week and helping them get great. If you're really driving your leaders, I don't know that you guys understand how much it impacts your organization. It's pretty ridiculous. So let's make sure we're focused on that. Just let me know anything that you guys need. My day's just starting over here, so we're kind of a day ahead. It's weird right now. We're in the same time zone. So it's Wednesday morning where I am. So make sure you guys just let me know what's happening. Shoot me text messages. I'm available via GroupMe text message. Sometimes like the reception is kind of weird, but try me and I'll get back to you as soon as I see it. All right. So any questions, anything from you guys right